What's up guys, my name's Liam and today we're going to be taking a look at the brand new Asus ROG Harpe Ace Extreme. It's very clear that they put a lot of work into the development of this mouse, as it does feel pretty unique from just about anything that I've used before. So how does it stack up against competition, and more importantly, could this be the perfect gaming mouse for you? Let's check it out. Before we get started, I did want to let you know that this was sent out to me. However, everything you'll be hearing in this video is going to be my own words and my own opinions. It does come inside of this pretty large box, and the unboxing experience is a pretty unique touch, and it does offer a rather premium experience. Included inside the box, it does come with a set of stickers, some user manuals, this hard style carrying case. What the inside looks like, a USB-C cable. The grips that do come included with this, they actually do feel rubberized and very grippy, so they feel really good. I haven't had a chance to use them yet, but I do plan on putting them on the mouse after this review is done. A couple of cleaning pads, and I do believe this is some type of a microfiber cloth. Then this does come with two sets of skates. So on the mouse itself, as you can see, it comes with a larger skate on the bottom, these two smaller ones on the top. So this extra PTFE skate right here is actually a larger skate that you can put on the top in case you wanted to do the two larger set skates, or it does come with the extra corner skates in case you just wanted to do the four corners or whatever combination that you want to. The Gorilla Glass skates that do come included as well, they do feel pretty good. I was testing them out. You know, I was on the glass skate hype when they first came out, and you know, every once in a while it's kind of nice to switch over and use them. So it is a nice touch, but generally I do prefer the PTFE skates, and that is why I put them back on here. And then lastly, here is the dongle setup that it does come included with. So how you can configure this is in a couple of ways. If you wanted to use it with just the 1K receiver and the dongle adapter, you can. In order to get the polling rate up to 2K, 4K, or 8K, you do need to use this booster. So you can use this in conjunction in a couple of different ways. I was using it like this, to where I had my USB-C cable up on my desk so I can keep it on my mouse pad as close to my mouse as possible while I'm using it. I did test plugging it directly in the back of my PC like this. It does work this way, but my PC is down on the floor, and the Asus wireless technology actually is really solid. It was working fine with no issues, but I do prefer to have it up as close to the mouse as possible. So if you wanted to use this also in an 8K wired mode, you would also still need to use this booster. So you can plug this directly into the back of your PC, into the motherboard, then plug the cable into it and run it up to your mouse. So if you plugged just the cable directly in the back of the motherboard into the mouse, then it will only go up to 1K. So taking a look at the bottom functions over here on the mouse, and you'll have to excuse me, you might notice that this sticker down here on the bottom is kind of crinkled up in the corners. The reason that is like that is because I actually had to remove the sticker to get inside of the mouse. These screws are not underneath the area where the skates go. But over here on the right side, in the middle here, it is powered off, but you also have to leave it in the middle if you do plan on using this in wired mode. Then up here at the top is where you can enable the Bluetooth mode. Down here on the bottom is where you would use the wireless receiver that does come included with the mouse. Over here on the left side, you do have your DPI button right here, and then your pair button down here on the bottom. So the way that this mouse works is it does come with a standalone software that you can use with it, or you can actually control the functions that you really need just from the mouse itself. Like for example, if you wanted to change the polling rate, you can hold down the pair button and hit the rear side button back here. Same thing with lift off distance, you'd hold the pair and you can press this button up here. But the PTFE skates that do come included on the mouse, they do feel really good, and I don't have any desire to switch them out. The construction of the shell does consist of two separate parts. You do have this top carbon fiber piece, and the bottom is made out of a nylon material. I did see some people speculating that these sides were rubberized. They are not rubberized. It does have these grooves here, and it's just kind of similar to the previous Asus mice if you've ever felt them before. So generally I would kind of prefer not to have these on here, but after I've been using this for a couple weeks, I did start to kind of get used to them. Again, like I said, I'm going to put the grips on here when I'm done and test those out. But as far as any type of a coating goes, it doesn't feel like there's a coating down here on this nylon piece. It did feel a little bit more grippy when I got out of the box, but now that I've used it a lot and kind of gotten, you know, oils and stuff all over the sides for my fingers, it has kind of gotten just a little little bit more slippery. And as far as the feeling on the carbon fiber goes, for my skin type, it does feel really grippy, but I did notice if I were to get my hands wet, so if you do struggle getting sweaty hands or anything like that, it can make it feel a bit more slippery. But as far as the integrity goes, with the build on this thing, I am really impressed, and the carbon fiber work that was done on here, you can tell is done very well. They said that they use a rigorous 8-step process to make this carbon fiber top shell, and I've taken this thing apart a couple times and put it back together. I haven't had any type of issues with the integrity on the shell at all whatsoever. It feels very solid, no issues with creaking or anything like that. And as you can kind of see, they've done a really great job at lining up these carbon fiber pieces so that it looks great all the way around. They also did mention that when they were developing this mouse, they actually tested a bunch of different materials. For the top, they even looked into things like magnesium alloy, and they found with a force test that they did that out of all the materials, that carbon fiber held out to be the strongest. So that is one of the main reasons why they decided to go with the top carbon fiber shell. This is using their ROG optical switches, and they honestly feel really good. And one thing I do kind of appreciate about these stiffer materials with mice like magnesium alloy or even this carbon fiber is the implementation just kind of feels solid no matter where you click it from. So as you can see, really excellent job with the pre and post travel. You get basically none. But what I'm talking about with the materials, even if you come up here in the front, look at that, I'm like getting no play. So really solid, and the clicks feel really lightweight. So no matter where you click it on the switch, you do get a really consistent feeling depending on how you grip the mouse. And on top of that, I don't get any type of left to right at all. No teetering, so really solid feeling on mouse 1 and 2. And in case you're wondering what these optical switches feel like, they are nice and clicky, offer a great tactical feedback, and they're not that difficult to spam. They do feel a little heavier than something like the Omron Opticals and a little bit more clicky, but I have been really enjoying these optical switches. The scroll wheel does feel pretty similar to me to some of their previous mice, and it does have a little bit of a stiffer feeling on the scroll there, so not too light. And it does have small steps. I didn't notice any issues with it getting stuck on the steps. And the center scroll click, a little bit more on the firm side. I don't feel like it's too firm or anything though. You could still spam the center scroll click pretty easily. As for the side buttons, they've also done a really solid job with the implementation. I just feel like no matter where you click it from, you don't notice a whole lot of pre-travel, so it feels really solid. It goes right into the click. And the post travel on these, really solid as well. You hit a nice solid wall back there. When it comes to the side to side, if you were to wobble on your side buttons, a little bit there on the front, but not so much. And I do feel like you do get a bit of wobble over here on that rear side button. So everything about the construction and usability of everything about this mouse really does feel solid. Let's go ahead and drop the click quality sound check. For the weight and balance, everything on the balance of this mouse does feel solid, and with this skate design that I got right here, coming in on my scale, looking at about approximately 47.3 grams. Taking a look at the standalone software, pretty straightforward. On this next tab is where it allows you to adjust your DPI and change your polling rate option. This also does allow you to change custom LED lighting settings, has a pretty cool option for adjusting your liftoff distance, and pretty straightforward stuff. This does not have an option to adjust the bounce setting, but since this is using optical switches, you should be getting the lowest click latency possible while using this at all times. And when it comes to the performance, I do kind of feel like Asus is in a league of their own when it comes to their wireless technology. I was messing around with it quite a bit, and I was even able to get this mouse to work with no issues all the way on the other side of my room from the dongle, so it feels really great and just a solid performance throughout. I did hook this up to my XLAT system, and it's pretty nice to see that I was finally able to get this to work with my Asus mice, but I did kind of notice that the click latency didn't really matter on whether you're using the 1K, 2K, 4K, or the 8K polling rate. The click latency seemed to be really close to one another across all polling rates. So when it comes to the shape, unfortunately I don't have the original mouse anymore. I was actually just borrowing that copy when I originally reviewed it on my channel a long time ago, but from what I remember, it does feel like it should be nearly identical, if not the exact same thing, to the original Harpe Ace. So we'll go ahead and jump into the comparisons here and see how it stacks up against some of the other top gaming mice that are on the market. When looking at it next to the Logitech G Pro Superlight 2, coming over on the bottom, as you can see, these both kind of have a flatter feeling on the side curve profile. The Harpe Ace does feel just a little bit longer though, and when stacking them together in the middle, the grip width is somewhat similar, but I do feel like the Asus mouse does feel just a little bit more narrow. Coming over on the rear here, the top curve profile from the top mid down the sides isn't really that far off from one another. The curve profile from front to back on these really not that far apart from one another. Next up, when stacking it up against the Razer Viper V3 Pro, kind of the same thing over here on the bottom. I do feel like you get a little bit more aggressive curves over here on the Viper V3 Pro, but overall both of them have a flatter feeling just in general. And on the grip width, they are really similar in the center grip width as far as the wideness goes. Over here on the top curve profile down the sides, the Razer does feel just a little bit more wide to me up here at the top when I am holding both of them. And one difference about these with the curve profile, I do kind of feel like the Razer has a more aggressive mid hump, and the way that it curves and drops off to the rear, it does so quicker and more aggressively. So it does make the Viper V3 Pro feel like a shorter mouse in the hands when you're gripping it. And then lastly, I'll throw it up here against the Lamzu Maya X. Kind of the same thing over here on the bottom with the flatter feeling sides, the bottom grip width. Pretty similar between both of these, but when you're holding them in the hands, the way that it curves from the top down to the sides, the Maya X does feel wider at the top of the mouse. And then again, the same thing, it does kind of drop off more aggressively down to the rear, where this has a slower taper, kind of making the Asus for my grip style feel a little bit longer in the hands. Alright guys, so that about wraps things up on the Asus ROG Harpe Ace Extreme. And yeah, this mouse does feel great. It feels really premium. Everything about the build and usability of it. For my personal preference, I actually really do like this shape. I do kind of feel like the mouse itself feels a little bit too long just for my hands and my grip style. After putting some time in it, I was able to get used to it, but I do feel like I would prefer this a lot more if it were to be just a little bit shorter. So I am going to try and take a look of the Asus Harpe Ace Mini and check that out. That might be a little bit more along my size, but aside from that, everything else about this mouse I really do feel like is a great experience. It's been enjoyable to use. The performance on it is great. I do like the materials that are used, and the clicks and everything to me felt really solid. The only real critique that I do have about this mouse is I kind of wish that they got rid of these grooves on the side, gave it just a flatter and smoother feeling, and applied a little bit more of a grippy coating. This does have a 200 milliamp hour battery inside of it, and with the 1K polling rate, it's estimated to get around 70 hours of use without the RGB. With the 8K polling rate, I was getting a full day of use, and just in general with these smaller batteries and higher polling rates, I've gotten used to charging my gaming mice every day after using them. The price of this mouse is rumored to be around $250, so that's absolutely going to put it more in a niche category, something similar along the lines of the Razer Viper Mini Signature Edition. So at the end of the day, you're gonna have to decide if this shape and the size of this mouse could potentially be perfect for you, and even end game if you are interested in picking it up. So if you feel like I left anything out or have any additional questions, please let me know in the comments down below. If you've enjoyed watching this video and are interested in seeing more videos like this in the future, please drop this video a like and subscribe to my channel. And thank you guys so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you in the next one.